Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Isle of Man Unravelled. And today I'm joined by my good friend, Rod Ripamonti, who's going to talk to us about the Business Migrant Innovator Visa. Maybe if Rod starts by perhaps giving us a little bit of background and into himself and so on, and then we can get right into that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Martin. Thanks for inviting me here on a great sunny day on the Isle of Man.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really good day. And you've got a great view from your office here of the hills outside Douglas. So, yeah, great to be here. Yeah, so my background, you'll pick up from my accent that it's not a typical Isle of Man accent.
No. I have no idea where you're from, so that'll be interesting.
Well, I always tell people I'm from Glenvine, which is in the middle of the Isle of Man, but my accent comes from my parents, who they're American. My dad was born in Italy,
Right?
but my parents are sort of American. They met in America, and then they moved to the Isle of Man just before I was born. So I was born in the Isle of Man. So
Really?
I'm a
And
true Manxman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the accent stuck. So yeah, I was homeschooled till I was 12.
Yeah.
So I think once you're 12, your accent pretty much is stuck with you.
Yeah,
So.
I would say so. So you're actually, well, your family is probably got some good insights as to why people should relocate to the Isle of Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I should have brought my dad instead of me. But yeah, he was essentially looking for a quiet, peaceful, safe place to raise a family, and the Isle of Man seemed like a nice place. So he visited, really liked it. He brought my mom, and yeah, they came and they thought, yeah, this is a lovely place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was, I believe it was 1990.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lovely. Well, I mean, there's a lot of interest of people moving here to the island at the moment, as you know better than most, to be fair. And I think people see it as a little bit of a safe haven, don't they, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the first things we tell people when I work in the Innovator Visa, as I do now from time to time. We tell them about the safety.
Yeah.
We tell them it's one of the safest places in the world. You can send your kids to school. They can walk to school in many cases, and there's no issues. So, yeah.
No, I mean, it's kind of how the world should be, really. We don't have to lock our cars if we don't want to, and you don't feel threatened when you go out. You can walk around any time of the night, and you might get attacked by a wallaby up north somewhere, but other than that, I was joking about that, by the way. It is a really, really excellent quality of life, and I think HSBC actually rated it as the best quality of life in the British Isles, actually.
That's amazing. That's also very brave of you to advertise that your Ferrari is unlocked at the moment. But,
if only.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you've helped quite a few people with this the Business Migrant Innovator Visa, have you, in the past?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
A few years ago, my friend Trevor Kirk, who you know as well, he said to me, I'd been previously working in a CSP many years ago, corporate service provider, which you'll know all about those very well. But then I went to uni, studied, then I took some time working for a local church here on the island, and then I wanted to come back into business. And Trevor said to me, I think you might be interested in doing what I'm doing, which was working with innovator visa applicants and helping businesses relocate to the Isle of Man. And I'm very happy he did suggest that to me, because I really enjoyed it. And we brought probably about 13 people to the Isle of Man. And then there was actually even more on the previous visa before that. So it was wonderful to work with many different kinds of businesses and just understand the types of business the DFE want to see brought to the Isle of Man. So
well, tell us a little bit about the Innovator Visa and who it's intended for, and what type of people that our government are trying to attract to the island with this.
Yeah, well, the Isle of Man has a plan to bring 15,000 more people here, as you probably know, and what they'd like to bring here is economically active people.
Yeah.
So. One of their prime targets, as it were, to use that word, is people who own businesses, successful businesses, scalable businesses that are going to employ people. So that's one of the key requirements, as I'm sure we'll get to, of the Innovator Visa, is that you have to employ 3 people in 3 years.
Okay. Effectively, it's really to attract sort of entrepreneurs to the island, is it? And
Yeah.
they don't have to come from Europe. They can come from anywhere in the world. So anybody can apply if they can meet those requirements.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
As you know, British people don't need to apply for an innovator visa. They can simply move here.
Yeah.
Because there's freedom of travel in the common travel area. So
okay, so that the common travel area, that's the Isle of Man, the Channel Islands,
the UK, so England, Scotland, Wales, and then many people are surprised to know that Ireland is in the common travel area. Yeah. So no border control between the Isle of Man and Ireland and the UK. So British people can just move here and they can apply for a work permit and start a business or get a job. So they don't need to apply for an innovator visa. So it's all the other countries internationally that would need an Isle of Man innovator visa.
Okay, and there aren't any restrictions on countries. I mean, I must admit I've seen that because I've seen people actually move here from the Middle East and Iran and places, surprisingly, which is great to see. So it's really just aimed at innovative business people with a good idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Any country we've seen from a very wide range of countries. Yeah. Yeah.
So okay. So tell us a little bit about the process and the requirements and so on to qualify for that.
Yeah. So the process is that you would first come to someone like us, or one can even do it directly.
Right.
That'd be very difficult, in my opinion, because you know it's important to know what the DFE, the Isle of Man DFE, want to see. You'd approach them initially. They like to have an initial chat with you, just so they know your application is on its way.
Okay, when you say the DFE, that's part of the government, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes, so Department for Enterprise. Okay. There's a division in that department called Locate.
Right.
That's comprised of maybe 6 to 8 individuals. It may have grown recently, but and they're in charge of assessing every single innovator visa applicant. So you take your idea to them. They like to have that initial chat with you, get to know you a bit, and they'll give you an indication of whether that business idea that you come to them with is something that they would invite you to apply for or not.
Okay, so that's something that you can help with, because you can reach out directly to the people in the government and on behalf of your clients explain to the government what the client's proposing on doing and so on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll get some feedback from that.
Definitely. So the DFE are very happy to work through agents like myself and others out there. So they're more than happy to do that, or indeed speak to the applicant directly. But yeah, we can help you. If you come to us in the first instance, we can give you a really good idea of what the DFE will say to you, and we can help you put your best foot forward, as it were, and maybe if you're debating between several different business ideas, as many entrepreneurial people, they'll have multiple business ideas or even multiple businesses that they're actually running. We can give you an idea of which one is probably the best one to lead with.
Because there are some restrictions, I think, aren't there, in terms of, it's called Innovator Visa for a reason. And I think the UK runs a similar program, but I think ours is a little bit easier sometimes to navigate. And so there does have to be, you couldn't just come with a generic business that's already here, a pub or something like that. It would need to be something that is maybe a little bit different to other things that are going on the island. Is that right? Could you just give us a sense of the type of things that they would and wouldn't be looking to endorse?
Yeah. So what they've told us is that they generally like to see that it's a business. There isn't an exact like-for-like business already on the Isle of Man.
Okay, so they're not wanting to see people compete with existing.
No. Unless you can come in and you have a revolutionary idea that's going to really disrupt that existing competition, then no, it has to be something fairly unique to the island, thankfully. So it's not unique to the UK. It's not unique globally, but unique to the island. Yeah. And it's... things they really like. We'll probably get onto this a bit later as well, but they really like anything that is to do with tech. So tech businesses that have a proof of concept, particularly. If you can show there's a demand for your product, ideally, your business is maybe even already up and running somewhere, then they're going to really be attracted to that type of business. Yeah.
Okay. And so then, once you come up with an idea that hopefully they're happy with, then presumably you need to document that in some way, do you?
Yes, that's right. Yes, so as the process goes along, you would, potentially with my help, you would make a business plan, which that'd be one of my specialisms is creating the business plan, ordering it in the way the DFE will expect to see it. And so you'd present that to the DFE with financial projections and if there's any history of the business already, you would explain that to them, and that goes along with an official application form, and then they review it for whether they want to give it endorsement or not.
Okay.
So
but there has to be, as part of that plan, there has to be a minimum amount of cash that's invested. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. So £50,000 is the minimum investment, but they're going to look at the type of business you're doing, and if you're designing and manufacturing chips, silicon chips, then they're going to say, well, 50,000 isn't enough.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, it's got to be well capitalized, and they've got to see that it's realistic to fund the business with whatever you're proposing to invest into it.
I think that makes sense. Certainly, I think in quite a lot of the cases we've seen, there have been substantially more than £50,000 invested. So that yes. 50,000 is very much a minimum, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I've ever seen an application limited to just 50,000. Like you said, there's usually substantially more than that. But yeah, conceivably, if it's the right business that you're investing into, it could be limited to 50,000. But I'd say more like 150 would be about the average.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in terms of the actual business itself, obviously, as well as the business plan, that has to include financial projections, doesn't it, over a number of years?
That's right.
And then the thing that we've seen, certainly, and you probably have some more insight in this, sort of get in the way sometimes, particularly for sort of software as a service type businesses, is that there is a minimum requirement for employees that have to be engaged locally, I think.
That's right. It's 3 over 3 years, and it has to be 1 by the end of year 1.
Right.
And then 3 by the end of year 3. Yeah.
Okay. And can the applicant be an employee as well, or not? That doesn't count.
No, unfortunately not. The DFE have told me on multiple occasions you can employ family members, which is great.
Yeah.
But you cannot count yourself as the applicant as an employee. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But family members can move with you on this visa.
Yeah. Family members can move with you. There's quite a substantial visa application fee, both for the main applicant. It's over 1,400, 1,480, something like that, and your dependents have to pay that as well. So a big family of 4, for example, it's gonna all add up, and that's a fee that goes to the government. But yeah, you can bring dependents, and they can indeed work for the business. Yeah.
Okay, that's very useful to know. So essentially, then, once you put the plan together and you've documented it, and then it's been kind of pre-approved in a sense by the DFE. Hopefully, then they will they endorse it, do they? So that's an official stamp of approval, presumably.
Yes. So what we're speaking about really is that there's 2 main phases to getting an innovator visa. The first main phase is the endorsement phase, which is where they consider your business plan. Yeah. It's really important to have a very good idea of what the DFE wants to see in that business plan. That's where we would come in to guide you, and we can write the business plan for you. Or if you'd like to write it yourself or have someone else write it, we can guide that person. You have to make decisions about what that business is going to look like when it sets up, and you want to make sure you're making the right decisions, putting the right decisions into the business plan, so that the DFE, don't refuse it before giving it a good chance.
Yeah. And you're expected to work full time in that business as well. You can't just move to the island and just employ people and do nothing. You actually are expected to kind of be a key person. Is that right?
The phrase that you're signing up to, you're signing your name against the phrase. I confirm I'll be spending the majority of my time in the Isle of Man working on my business. So there's a little bit of leeway in there. But yes, you have to commit to spending the majority of your time working on your business in the Isle of Man. Legally, for the visa, a lawyer will advise you. We would always recommend you take legal advice as well. They're probably going to advise you that you have to spend a minimum of 6 months in the common travel area as a minimum. Yeah. And they'll probably also recommend that you spend most of that time in the Isle of Man as well.
Yeah. I mean, certainly as you know, we've got an accounting firm, and we help people sort of set up businesses, including people who are using this visa pathway. And certainly, you know, we prefer to work with clients who are genuinely sort of 100% involved in their businesses and really looking to set themselves up as a new life. It kind of makes our job a bit easier in a way, and that's probably the same for you as well, really. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, what you're alluding to there is that we like to work with you once you've got your visa. I think one of the things that sets us apart is that we invest a lot of our time into the post-visa support and attending the DFE review meetings with you. And
I didn't realise you did that. That's really, really helpful, because I must admit, as the accounting firm, that's something that we never get involved in. We kind of sort of hand that off to the people who are actually dealing with the visa. So that's really helpful.
So the DFE are more than happy if an agent like myself answers any business related questions. Yeah. In an instance where they would be asked a legal question or something legal were to come up, of course. You'd need to take legal advice if your visa was in jeopardy. Yeah, but
and we both got lots of contacts who can provide that, can't we?
100%. We usually partner. Well, in almost every case, we partner with a local lawyer or a UK based lawyer if that's better. With the visa applications we partner with, but. We're fairly confident that we can help your business hit the DFE targets, and we can certainly make you aware if there's any concerns that are coming around the corner, and help you get ready for those. But the DFE actually do a great job of making everything very, very clear to you, and they give you lots of notice. So they will tell you months in advance if they're concerned that you're not meeting the target. So it'd be things like, have you invested the funds into the business yet? Right. Have you employed someone? It's coming to the end of year one. You know, we want to see you recruiting actively.
I'll tell you what, it's so refreshing to hear that, because, you know, there must be so many places where government departments are just not that helpful at the end of the day. But I guess, you know, what we've got to remember is that it's our government strategy to actually have more economically active people working here. So I think it kind of makes sense, but it's really good that message clearly has got through to the people in the department, and they are actually actively helping the visa applicants and yourself, through yourself in many cases, to actually achieve that. So that's they're just not trying to trip you up, basically.
Definitely. That's
so we got to the point where somebody has submitted their application for endorsement. So that's the phase one part. And hopefully that's been approved by the Department for Enterprise. What actually happens after that? What's the next part of the process?
Yeah, the other thing to just quickly mention about the endorsement part is, while you're waiting for your endorsement, the DFE may contact you with certain questions about your business. They just may want clarity on a few details. So
okay, so that might take place on a video call or something, or if you're on the island, then to go in and have a chat with them.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. That they would do either one of those things. They might even just send an email if it was a small query. But so let's say you've received your endorsement, which hopefully you will. Then it's about the second phase, which is the visa application proper. So
okay.
So you would do that. Usually I would recommend you get the help of a lawyer who will make sure that your
okay, so this is the sort of legal part of it, is it? And this goes to the immigration department rather than to the Department for Enterprise.
That's correct, yeah. And the lawyer will make sure your application is mistake-free, because if there's a small mistake, it can result in, you know, months of delays. Potentially it could result in your application being refused altogether, which would obviously that's kind of like a horror scenario. But it's always good to get a lawyer. We would always refer people to a lawyer.
Okay. Actually, just one thing I was going to ask you there, because I know in one case, I don't know if this is still the case or not, but do they need to have an English language test or anything like that?
It depends what country you come from. Right. So South Africa, for example, you do have to either take an English language test or you have to show your degree certificate and transcripts to show that you were taught in English from you have a university degree in English. So
okay, so this is one of the reasons why the lawyer is useful, because they'll know the ins and outs of all of that side of things.
Yeah, that's it. They can guide you through that process. So,
okay. And of course, our lawyers here are called advocates, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Certain countries like the US and Canada and where else? Australia, they wouldn't have to take an English test, thankfully. That is considered beneath them, which some of you might think, well, do Americans really speak that good English? But thankfully, they don't have to take it. But so then hopefully you've submitted your application, no errors. That initially goes to the Isle of Man Immigration Department.
Yeah.
They assess that. They'll do all kinds of background checks on you. And then once they've approved it, they send it to UKVI, who will also do their own.
Okay, what's VI? That's Visa and Immigration or something,
right,
is it? Okay, I've never heard of that.
It's the Department of the Home Office in London that looks at every visa application. The reason they have to do that is because there's no border control between the Isle of Man and the UK. So effectively, the UK is letting someone into their borders. So they have to do their due diligence to make sure you're not Vladimir Putin, really. Then they should send it back to the Isle of Man, who then notify you of your decision. So the question that is on absolutely everyone's mind is,
and mine
and yours is timeline. Is how long is it going to take?
And Rod, how long is it going to take?
How long is it going to take? Well, this is the question which what I'm giving you is always an estimate, because part of it is completely out of our hands, which is the part that the Immigration Department and UKVI are assessing. So, in fact, the DFE did give me an estimate last week, which they said was for the entire process from the day that you submit your business plan for endorsement to receiving your passport with the visa stamp in it. They gave the estimate of 12 to 16 weeks total. So my guideline in there would be 1 to 2 months for the business endorsement, depending on the complexity.
That's not too bad, is it?
Yeah.
Not too bad at all, to be fair.
And then for your visa, something like 3 to 6 months would be normal. So
so their entire estimate was at the lower end, really. So it's like if it's 1 month, or let's say that they do it in a month, and then you add another 3 months minimum. It's going to be 4 months.
Yes, I would say, based on my experience, that their estimate is near the optimistic end of things. But
so it's probably going to realistically you should be doubling that, probably 6 or 8 months. Is that right?
Yeah, I would. I always like to under promise and over deliver. So I tend to advise or guide people that it's going to take closer to 7 to 8 months, really. Just so they're not super disappointed if they think it's coming in 3 months. But we do everything we can to speed it up. We try and work very hard to write the business plan if we've been asked to do that. We can also every now and again give immigration a call, which on occasion it actually has sped things up a bit, which is good. The Isle of Man does claim it has a special relationship with South Africa. So if you're South African, you may get a quicker turnaround, but then equally someone might say to me that's actually not happening in practice. It's just kind of something that someone in the government has said, and it's kind of spread around a bit, but it's not actually true. But we do everything we can to speed it up, but there's no guarantee that we can say it'll come on a particular date.
Okay. And with this process, I know with some of the older visas, I don't know if this is still the case, is there any requirement for Isle of Man bank accounts or anything weird like that to show you got the money? Can the money be anywhere, or does it have to be in an Isle of Man bank account or whatever, the 50,000?
It doesn't have to be in an Isle of Man bank account.
That's good.
But there is a requirement that you have to have held it in a bank account for 2 years or more. Or you can show that an alternative to that is that you can show that the funds have come from the proceeds of a property sale, or have come via a gift from someone who's given you unrestricted use to those funds.
Okay, that's really helpful, because you can sort of see there, the sort of expertise that you've got over the sort of nuances of this that aren't necessarily going to be apparent, unless you're engaged to kind of look at someone's particular case. So, and I'm sure there are other examples of that if we were to continue to dig down into that.
Definitely, and I'm also going to get that just signed off by an advocate as well in every instance. So with something like a deed of sale, I would have a lawyer look at that and just make sure that it's legally valid, and that someone isn't going to find that it's the wrong certification on it somewhere later down the line.
Because I think that very much follows our process of sort of ensuring that the qualified professionals in each particular area are engaged to do the bit that they need to do. And I know that your expertise is very much in sort of, dealing with the Department for Enterprise and making sure the business plan looks right, and understanding the rules in such a way that you can communicate them accurately and fully to the person who's the applicant and their family and so on.
Yeah.
Which obviously, you probably don't want to be paying a lawyer £300 an hour to impart the same information.
That's right.
But at the same time, obviously, lawyers are engaged, advocates in the Isle of Man are engaged at every part of the process where it's necessary to do that.
Absolutely, where it's necessary, because we want you to have that security that you're not, you're not going to lose your visa at some point. The other thing I would add to that whole thing is after one gets here. Engaging a good accountant, which I know your son does that, but things like the statutory filings and the government payments every month.
We love all that stuff. That is our bread and butter, as you know, doing payroll, making sure people have got the right insurances, employers' liability insurance, and making sure they're getting good advice over employment contracts, registering for VAT, helping people find premises where that's necessary as well. We do a bit of that, and even just being a general sounding board on what we hope is good business advice.
No, that's ideal. We always would make sure people are set up for a win with something like you or your son in place, because if you try and do the statutory filings on your own, I guarantee you someone's going to make a mistake at some point, or making the right deductions from your employees' pay slips. It's all very esoteric and difficult to understand. So
well, it's different from other places, isn't it? The Isle of Man, although it's tiny, we have a population of 88,000 or something, population of Redditch in the UK. There's a lot going on here, and everything's different. Our VAT registration is different from the UK, even though we're part of the UK VAT area. Our PAYE is different, our tax is different, and so on and so forth. So, but that's part of our charm as an island, really. I think it's nice. It's nice to be a little bit different. So let's roll forward then. The company's been set up, and things are going well. The money that should have been invested has been invested, and some income coming in, and so on and so forth. So you're saying when do we have to employ the first staff member?
So that would be by the end of year one.
By the end of year one. So we can have a year of runway, basically preparing things and so on. And obviously, we could pay ourselves if we're profitable enough to do that, but that won't count towards the visa.
Correct, yes, and it can't be. The important thing is that it cannot be taken from the investment amount. So if the business, like you said, if the business is making a profit, the entrepreneur can pay themselves from that and not run the risk of the DFE raising any questions. But otherwise you can't use the investment.
The investment amount that has to be understood. Okay.
The other thing to mention about employing the first person in the first year is that the way the DFE interpret that is from the date of endorsement. So of course your visa has taken 3 to 8 months, we're saying, to arrive. So you could potentially arrive, and then you're supposed to employ your first person within 4 months.
Right.
Now we have known the DFE to give a little bit of leniency on occasion, especially where someone's visa has taken a while to arrive. But generally, they're probably going to arrange to have a meeting with you at the first year mark of your endorsement. date to just to check where you are in the hiring process. And they'd certainly like you to have started recruiting and contacted local recruitment agencies, for example, or put out a job posting on the Isle of Man job forum. So
okay, that's very, very helpful to know. Okay, so now we'll roll forward a little bit. We've got our first employee. Things going well. Hopefully we've got some good sales. Hopefully we've been engaged as the accountants and we're looking after things for you, doing all the bookkeeping and all that stuff. And then do we have to have some more employees? What's the next step?
Yeah, this is probably a good time to mention what types of business do well under the Innovator scheme.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. You've got to employ 2 more people, but you do have some time to get there. So that's the end of year 3. But it's a good time to mention the types of businesses that the Isle of Man likes to see, and it's anything that is has clients internationally. So if you're planning to come and you're only going to fish from the small Isle of Man pond, the DFE won't take well to that, because it's like you said, it's only 85, maybe a few more thousand. So it's a small market on the Isle of Man. Yeah. So what they're looking for is a business that has clients overseas. So
because our government wants to be drawing in that money from overseas, doesn't it? Basically,
exactly.
To be good for the island and our economy generally.
Definitely, if you want to impress the DFE, you can use the word exchequer benefit, which they absolutely love. Where you're effectively bringing money into the Isle of Man as an employer. You're paying your employees. That money is being taxed. That's how they.
Okay,
the exchequer benefit.
Okay, and that really, bottom line is, that is the whole purpose of this visa scheme. From the government perspective, that's what they want to see happen.
They've told us that the first thing they do when they receive a business plan is they go down, they scroll through your business plan, go down to the salaries you're paying them, and they deduct the taxes and the national insurance, and they look at what is the return on our investment if we grant this person an innovative visa. What taxes are being returned to the Isle of Man?
Because it is an investment on their part. I mean, they're spending time and effort to pay. Obviously, there are some fees involved, but those will all be snaffled up by the immigration department, no doubt. In reality, so I mean, our Department for Enterprise wants to see positive economic benefit for the island through income tax and national insurance.
Absolutely, because as most of your listeners probably know, there's 0% corporation tax here. Yeah. So if a person just brings a business and doesn't employ anyone, the Isle of Man is not going to see that much benefit. But if it's employing people, then they'll see quite significant benefit.
Yeah. And I suppose just also, I know, just going back a bit on what we reeled before, the difference between our innovator visa here and the one in the UK is that the key point, well, 2 key points really. The first one is that obviously what's innovative here would probably be a different bar to the one that's in the UK, because the Isle of Man's much smaller, so arguably it might be easier to find something that isn't already here, so that's a tick. But the other thing, of course, is that in the UK, if I'm right, it's actually third parties that need to endorse and not the government. So you've got to get a university or somebody like that to do the endorsement, and you're probably going to pay them to do that.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So here you've got certainty. If our Department for Enterprise like it, you are going to get endorsed.
Correct. Yeah, and the UK has a higher number of employees you've got to employ.
Have they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
For their innovator visa.
Right.
I haven't checked for a while, but I believe it's either 5 or 10, depending on what salaries you're paying them. So if you're paying them low salaries, it's 10. Higher salaries, it's 5. And like you said, there's a number of endorsing bodies. They've restricted it greatly in recent months and years. But exactly. You're going through an independent endorsing body that probably is charging you quite significantly if you're approved. They may even take an equity stake in your company.
Really?
That's been known to happen as well. So it's much easier to get an innovator visa on the Isle of Man, and it's arguably a much friendlier place to come and do business for some of those reasons.
Well, it's certainly a better place to live, in my opinion. I mean, I love the island, as you know, and as I mentioned, the sun is blazing down at us now, which is super. And I'm quite looking forward to driving home and knocking the roof off the car on the way back. So
yes, amazing.
should be nice. So yeah. So I mean, I personally would recommend anybody to, particularly if they've got a family, to come and live on the island and enjoy the quality of life that we have here.
The other thing I like to tell people is that it's a full British passport you get at the end. So on the Innovator visa, it's a slightly sped up pathway to a full British passport.
Okay.
It should take you about 5 years to get it. It should take, under normal circumstances, 3 years to get permanent residency.
Yeah. And
that permanent residency on the Isle of Man is valid for the entirety of the UK,
right?
According to my advocate friends. It's a very powerful, nationality. Really, is the Isle of Man passport, because it gives you the same travel permissions around the world. Anywhere a British passport is visa free, an Isle of Man passport is visa free as well.
Yeah. Well, I can confirm that. I mean, I obviously travel around on my Isle of Man passport, and I've never had any issues.
Are you a Manxman, by the way?
No, I'm not. I moved over here a long time ago. I think I was 2 years old, and my 3 kids are obviously Manx. They were all born here, but don't have the Manx grandparents that we always talk about.
Oh yes.
But yeah, no. I mean, although I can't imagine ever living anywhere else now, I must admit.
What part of England are you from?
The family's actually from the Midlands.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but there's nobody left there now, actually. So,
okay.
Okay. So,
very good.
Yeah, lovely. Is there anything we haven't covered, Rod, that you think we should mention?
Perhaps I should go through some of the different types of businesses that have been approved. I know
that would be good.
So we've mentioned tech businesses.
Yeah.
That's kind of the Isle of Man DFE's poster child is anything tech. We've also seen businesses that do what I would call geographical arbitrage of luxury goods. So,
okay.
Buying luxury goods in a cheaper destination and then selling them in a place where the value is much higher.
Yeah.
What else have we seen? We've seen e-commerces that sell artisanal goods.
Yeah.
We've seen a geothermal borehole drilling company come here.
Really?
For ground source heat pumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to talk to you about that later. Actually, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And they're actually doing that. They're going to be drilling the holes locally, are they? Or
that's correct. Yes, right. Yes. I believe they've recently got their drilling rig onto the island,
wow.
And they're going to, I don't know what depth. I think it's 80 to 120 meters, and because of course gas boilers are not going to be an option for new houses from 2025 as things stand.
Yeah.
So that leaves either air source heat pumps or ground source heat pumps, and possibly a very, very limited number of options. So ground source heat pumps are known to be very, very efficient. Yeah. So so that business was approved, and I believe they're doing
nice.
very well.
I can tell you're actually really excited about these businesses as well. And I actually get that completely, because we're the same. When it comes to sort of helping our clients and so on, it's always really exciting to kind of be part of that journey.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't like to just sort of see you get the visa and then never see you again. My preference would be to work with you for at least a year, if not longer, after you get here, and make sure you're networked well. You've got your local accountants, everyone that will guide you through that the first year is an absolute win. And then of course, if you need help after that, we'll still be there. But it's amazing to get to know all these different types of businesses, and every entrepreneur just brings a different kind of flair with them, and they've all got all these different ideas. That it's just great.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Rod. It's been very, very fascinating for me, even though I've been involved in this for a little while. I've certainly learned a great deal.
No problem.
And I hope it's been as interesting for our listeners.
Thanks for inviting me, Martin.
Okay, lovely. Yep. Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.